I'm about to move to a little secluded area away and talk about this real quick. So here's the thing about me, like, so I'm gonna make this clearly first. Now everybody knows I don't talk about politics because I don't do politics on my channel. I'm probably the only time I'll even come close to politics on this channel. But I've heard of Charlie Kirk, right? I believe he's the guy who is a park owner in Turning Point, and I used to see that going along a lot in the late 2010s and stuff like that, 2020s. He was not a good person, not even a little bit. He had a lot of negative things to say. He had a lot of bad things to say about anybody that didn't look like him. And sure, he was one of those guys who was supposedly pro First Amendment, but I don't know if his pro on the First Amendment was legit. Maybe he was pro First Amendment. Maybe he was pro First Amendment to people who looked like him or who thought like he did. I don't know. But me, when I say I'm pro First Amendment, I say I'm pro First Amendment to everybody who looks like me, who doesn't look like me, who ain't even from this country. I believe everybody has the right to have a voice, right? When it comes to the Second Amendment, now, yeah, granted, I'll admit I am definitely pro Second Amendment. I'm a gun owner myself. I love guns. I'm not an expert on them. I'm not gonna pretend I am. I don't, I do know obviously gun safety laws. Some things need to be, fixed. Doesn't mean I want guns to be rid of or anything like that. And there's all the other Bill of Rights and all that stuff that comes within our country, due process, understanding things of that nature. And quite frankly, the guy who deleted him, I'm gonna just say it like this, and I'm just speaking as an American. I do hope that he gets his due process in court. I hope that he does. I do hope that he gets a fair trial because he is owed that. But of course, when he is found guilty, I hope they throw the fucking book at him. I'm just gonna be honest with you, because murder is wrong. Killing someone is wrong. I don't care how you slice it. Yeah, sure, the Charlie Kirk guy, he may have been a piece of shit in my eyes, and that's just my opinion, nothing more. But I don't think that he should have been deleted for his opinion. I think that if you wanted to silence a guy like that, then you pick up a mic. Pick up the mic and you talk to him about it. And yeah, he'll probably say some offensive shit. He'll probably say some shit that is, dare I say, even inaccurate. But if you really want to shut him up, then what you do is you pick up the mic. You can have a difference in opinions and you shut him up with facts. People have shut him up before. Okay, it's not like he was just infallible and every time he got into a debate with somebody. We only see the ones he won because the people that debated him were unprepared. They didn't have when they picked up the mic and spoke. That's, and of course that's on them. There's nothing that can be done about that. So the fact that he had to have the fate that he had come to him is very, very unfortunate. And I definitely, again, I disagree with how this person, I can't remember his last name. I think his first name was like Tyler or something like that. But the fact that he had to resort to that, it really just shows just how low people can stoop when they can't win. feel they can't win. You think about it like this. We all had a feeling that Donald Trump was going to win this past election, right? We all knew it. Because who was he up against? Somebody that we did not want to win. And that was made very, very, very clear in the voting polls. That was made very adamant at the voting polls that they did not want Donald Trump's opponent to win in the elections. That's why Donald Trump won. At a certain point, it doesn't become liberal versus conservative versus centrist versus everybody else. It really does become what's right and what's wrong. What's right and what's wrong. What's right? I heart open. Yeah, so what's right is that the suspected killer got caught. What will be right is that he gets his day in court and that the sentence is handed down properly. What was wrong was the act itself. What was wrong was a lot of the things that Charlie Kirk said. What was wrong was, you know, the time and place. Like broad daylight at a school. I mean, granted, that's where he does all of this stuff at broad daylight in a school. I don't know too much of Charlie Kirk's background, and I don't care enough to study it. Boy got snipped mid. Yeah, the whole thing is that, you know, it should not have come to that. And again, that's my opinion. I don't think it should have come to that. I don't think politics should ever be that serious. Politics should never have been that serious, and by any stretch of the imagination. And I get it. Some people want to be right. Some people want to be right so bad that they will stoop to that sort of level, all in the name of being right. When in reality, the way that you win, like I said, pick up the mic. I'm a firm believer. Like, for instance, me, if I wanted to debate somebody like Charlie Kirk before, no, I'm not. But yeah, if I wanted to debate somebody like Charlie Kirk, I would do just that. I would do my research on what he's talking about. And then I would confront him with the facts, not with my emotions, not with definitely not a gun. And no, he didn't. But again, like I said, if I'm gonna take down Charlie Kirk, I'm going to do it with words. I'm gonna make sure I bring my facts, and I'm gonna make sure that I bring evidence and all that good stuff. You know, facts, data, and statistics. I believe Kevin Samuels said that a lot. Facts, data, and statistics. Because let's be real, most of what he said wasn't wrong. Most of what he said wasn't right. Let's be real, it wasn't. But nobody brought facts, data, and statistics to debate him. And that's why he won. If liberals actually came to him with actual facts, data, and statistics, they would actually see that he was wrong. And they could shut him up with words. And they could shut down his platform. Okay? We all know black people don't commit 55% of murders. We all know that black men are the most active fathers in this country. That's already been proven and displayed by Fox News. One of the very networks he follows. So all you had to do was just a minute bit of research, and you could see that, find that, present that to him, shut him up. Again, if you want to shut somebody up, you do it with words. Okay.
Feels like a great fight.
I'm getting a bunch of notifications on my phone, but none of them are from None of them are from YouTube itself. But yeah, I'm a firm believer. Like I say, if you want to shut some, and I have this kind of thing with people that I collab with, or if I've had disagreements with somebody on the internet, or even in person for that matter. I'm a firm believer that if you want to take somebody down, you don't have to use a gun, use a knife. You don't have to use a bat. You don't have to use any kind of weapon. You can take them down with words. All you got to do is know the topic first off. And I think that's one of the greatest tactics Charlie Kirk did use. His tactic was he set up and nobody knows what he's going to talk about. But when he comes out and talks about it, and then people come out and try to challenge him, they haven't done their research yet, so they don't really know if he's telling the truth or not. And you don't bring your own evidence to shut him down. And so it just turns into this, well, I've already did the research on it, so I must be right. If we don't know if he's right or not. And truth be told, you he isn't right. And even if he was right, at the end of the day, if you did your research, you wouldn't. If you did your research, actually you wouldn't actually debate him. And then guess what? He doesn't have a platform. You don't have to even acknowledge him. You don't have to engage him. The fact that it got so low to where he had to be deleted in such a fashion, it actually just speaks to how low people will go when they're extreme. And this is probably one of the many reasons I don't dabble in politics, because I don't want to see myself being in such a radicalized environment, and more often little radical, as it were, you know. And there was a point in time where it got so bad that you know our country had to have a thing. If y'all know what that thing is, but if you don't know what that thing is, go back to 1861. That was the thing. And now we have more and more problems that aren't being handled in a way that it should be. Now, let me say this very clearly. Like most of the things, if not almost everything that he said, I disagree with. I would dare say that I'm confident that I would disagree with 90% of the things that he said. After I done my research, I looked up some of his talking points and stuff like that. Clearly, me being empathetic would be seen as bad to him, because he was one of the people who said that he doesn't do empathy. So I'm basically just talking against his talking points right now because I'm having empathy. You know, at the end of the day, this man was a father. He had a wife. He had kids. You know, and I can see that. I can see on that side of the fence with him, because I have kids. I have daughters. I'm one of those guys. He says that just gets them pregnant and leaves them. I have daughters. I have three of them, right? Hey, auntie. But yeah, I have three daughters, right? And according to him, I just knocked them. I just knocked them two ladies up and left, right? What he doesn't know is that I was in a relationship with both of them. I was married to one. I was a married man, right? But I didn't just leave because I'm black, right? I didn't just leave them knocked up because I'm black. You know, relationships fail. That's just what it is. So and to add insult to his opinionated injury, well, it's far more than an injury. My kids live with me. You know, 9 o'clock comes and it's their bedtime. Guess whose house they're in? They're my house. I'm raising them. I'm taking care of them. I'm making sure that they're okay day in and day out. I'm handling that duty.
Let me out.
Hey,
Stepped in.
yeah. So when when he talks about that sort of thing, it's like, does he really know, or is he just giving an opinion to people who also don't know? And that's not necessarily the people he's beating in these debates are about. Because I can tell you right now, if I had showed up to one of his debates, which I wouldn't because I don't go to college campuses, but if I showed up to one of those debates that he had, I would have probably wrecked him simply with facts, data, and statistics. Because if he says 55% of black men don't take care of their kids, all I gotta do is just pull up a video from Fox News proving him wrong. Yes, I can admit that 50% of fathers, 50% of black do not live in a home with their children. This is something I looked up. This is something I'm very acutely aware of. Okay, something I'm very acutely aware of. 49% of black men are fathers. 49%. Okay, so you have 49% that are fathers. 30% are married. So in between 30%, some of them are fathers, some are not. But 30% of black men are married, and 49% of black men are fathers, right? So you're basically saying 55% of that 49% of black fathers are not taking care of their kids. The truth is that yes, 50% of black men, 50% of that 49% do not live in the same house as their children. That does not mean that they're not taking care of them. If anybody brought that to a debate, if anybody had brought that to a debate to Charlie Kirk, he would have been quiet. But nobody could say that. Think about that for a second. 49% of black men are fathers, and 50% of them don't live with their children. That's a fair point. That's something that a lot of people don't know. 50% of black men don't live with their children. But to say that 50% that don't live with their children aren't taking care of their children, not loving their children, not raising their children, not being there for their children, it's asinine at best. Okay? Because we would not say the same thing about the white men who are not living in the same house as their children. I hate to say it like this, but his children ain't living with their father no more. Does that mean? And I hate to say it like this because I'm not trying to be that guy, but let's just call it what it is. His children are not going to be living in the same house as their father, and that's unfortunate, and that sucks. Because again, I would not wish that on anybody, especially a father. Okay, but because now that his children do not have their father in the home anymore, and again, I do not say this with any kind of malice. Like, because his daughters do not live in home with their father anymore, does that mean that they're going to turn out the same way that he alleges that black people are going to turn out? Just a thought. It's just a thought. I'm not saying that out of malice. I'm not wishing that on anybody because first off, that's cruel and it's insensitive. But I'm asking the question. I'm asking the question because I'm trying to understand where he's coming from, right? He has this thing where he says about black people are violent because they don't have fathers in the home. Well, I'm just putting that back on his now unfortunate situation, his death and everything. And again, I know it's ugly, and I hate to say it like that, but it's a legitimate question. So that's just something. That I just thought I had to put my piece on. I know that it's probably going to get a lot of flack if it ever becomes public or something like that. If it doesn't, then that works for me too, because I'm not one to be YouTube famous anyway. Shit, for all I know, I'll never be YouTube famous, and I'm good with that. So y'all let me know what y'all think when y'all see this. Y'all can see my little rant or whatever. I know a lot of people are going to be crybabying about it. there'll be that other small sector of people who will also, still be celebrating. I'm not celebrating this man's death. Okay, not even close. Because again, it's unfortunate and it fucking sucks. And I wish that we as Americans didn't stoop to that level. But I'm also not. I'm not celebrating his death, but I'm not mourning either. I'm being the one thing that he doesn't want me to be, and that's empathetic. Because you have to think about the people he left behind, more importantly, his children. And again, I'm speaking as a father. Speaking as a father, not somebody who's into politics, because I am not good at it at all. I don't know everything there is to know about politics. Never have, never will. What I'm saying is that there comes a point in time where everybody needs to do better, whether it's dealing with politicians or what's going on at your schools, dealing with bullying, all that other stuff. It shouldn't be politicized. It should be understood, and so that we can stop it. Because that's the most important part. That's the most important part. It needs to be stopped, and it needs to be stopped by us. Terrifier. Okay, I see you. I see you, man. Don't forget to hit the like button for me. Don't forget to subscribe. And as always, everybody, kindness is free, and I'm cheap as fuck. So enjoy your Friday. Enjoy your weekend. I might come back on later. Check you guys out later. Stay mad, man.